98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. Weekdays from 10 a.m. on 98FM.
The words of Helen Worth playing the character of Gail Platt in Coronation Street last night. And compelling because she kind of got it, or the scriptwriters got it in terms of, you know, letting us know we all think we have the worst problems in the world, but we actually don't. There's somebody who has worse problems than us. So I want to focus on depression and suicide amongst Irish men. We want to delve into what is a very important issue, which is rampant in Ireland and all over the world, in fact. And we want to talk about why a lot of men feel that they can't talk about either suicidal thoughts or depression. They bottle it up, they keep it to themselves, and find out why there's such a stigma about it. If you're a man who has suffered or is currently suffering with depression, I would love to hear from you on 6797981. Of course, if you're a woman who's been affected by male suicide or depression, I'd love to speak to you as well. And we want to know why suicide is more prevalent amongst men than women here in Ireland. I'd love to hear from you on 6797981. Lisa Marie, you're on 98FM. How are you?
Hello, Adrian. How's it going? How are you?
Did you see that episode of Coronation Street?
I didn't watch it. No, I couldn't watch it. Okay,
and there's a reason that you couldn't watch it.
Yeah, my brother, he took his own life, 2004. He was after 2002. He found the body of my sister and her partner dead in their apartment in Blanchardstown. They died in a fire. And he was never the same after that, you know. He was tormented by what he saw, what he witnessed. We did seek help for him in James Connolly, Blanchardstown, on 2 occasions, but he got no help. He got counselling for about 15-20 minutes. They just filled him with drugs. My mother went up begging him for the help. And 2004, just about Halloween, he walked out of the hospital, and a week later, he killed himself. We're just so angry, you know. There's not enough help for them in this country. It's horrific. You know, it's not fair. I feel so sorry for the men.
And looking back, obviously hindsight's a great thing and all that, but could you have seen it coming?
Do you know what? We couldn't really understand because we were still grieving my sister and her partner's deaths. And he just got very angry after that, and we couldn't see in his head what he witnessed, you know. We didn't know the torment he was going through. Yeah, he was very angry. He was off the head for a little bit, God love him, you know, and we are angry as a family that we didn't really see the signs. I never thought he would do this. You know, my mum's friend's son committed suicide a few years before, and he says, geez, Mum, I would never ever do that to you.
Oh, he actually said that, did he?
Yeah, this is before my mum's friend's son committed suicide, and we just never, ever thought he would do this. You know, he was the life and soul of the family, and to this day, we're still affected by his death. I mean, we were affected by my sister's death, but I think suicide has a bigger, deeper impact as a family. Cause
you say that, was it your brother and sister?
My brother, my sister and her partner died in
a house fire
in Blanchardstown, in 2002, and
you say, and obviously that was difficult to cope with, but it was obviously a tragic accident, was it?
Tragically, yeah. I mean, he found their bodies. He was returning her son back down to her the next day because we couldn't get through to her, and he went in and he searched the apartment because it was all black. Because it was so dark, he couldn't really see much, and then he came across my sister's body in the bathroom and her partner's body in the bedroom. And we just never realised the effect it had on him, God love him. And I feel terrible. I'm angry at myself because I'm thinking I should have spotted this, I should have spotted that. You know, and I wish I could spot it. But we're a strong family, we got through, you know, but I just wish we knew the signs.
And, listening to the way you're describing it, you found your brother's death more difficult to deal with.
Yeah, the suicide had a bigger impact on me. You know, I just felt
Why
so
do you think
sorry.
that is?
I'm just thinking back now to what his mental health state would have been like, what was going through his head, you know, feeling like there was no way out of getting the help he needed. He really needed the help and he wasn't given the help. On 2 different occasions in James Connolly Hospital in Blanchardstown, my mother went up and begged him, stop giving him drugs, he needs the help. He got 15, 20 minutes of counselling for the 2 occasions he was in there. And other than that, they just filled him with drugs. The second time, he left, and a week later, he was dead.
Why do you think it is that men... Now, obviously, well, mind you, what you're telling me is your brother did try to get help. I've often wondered why men don't open up the way women do.
I don't know. I think it's a big macho thing, you know. It's like...
They say that more women suffer from depression than men. I don't actually believe that to be true. I believe that women are just more open and honest and possibly diagnosed than men. That doesn't mean that more of them suffer from it.
No, I totally agree with you, yeah. I really totally agree with you. I just feel so sorry for the men in this country because they don't open up. You know, they really don't.
Even now we're getting lots of texts from lots of men describing themselves simply as anonymous, who say that they are desperately living with depression, but they won't talk.
They won't talk. They're ignored. They're not getting the help they need.
No, but they won't talk to us, which means they obviously view it with a degree of shame, or they're embarrassed or whatever. Of
course there's a degree of shame and embarrassment, you know. Like what I said, women do open up a lot more and men don't. And that's why the suicide rate is so high with them, which I find very, very sad, and I'm very angry about that. I just wish more men would speak up about the problems they're dealing with. I mean, when I say us as a family, when we went through, and my brother, you know, we had the anger, we had the hurt. You know, why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? Why didn't we spot this? Why didn't we spot that? You know, it's like living with that to this day. I feel guilty. I feel terrible as I was the oldest sister in the family, you know, and I should have protected him. My poor mother was still grieving for her daughter. You know, it's
and he had previously promised he would never do that to your mother.
Oh yeah, my mum had a friend and whose son committed suicide, and my brother goes, "Oh my God, how could he even do that to her, to his mother?" You know, I'd never do anything like that. But we didn't know what was going to happen. Our sister got killed, and her partner, he found their bodies. You know, like we don't know what he saw. You know, he went through mental torture, what he witnessed, and the state he found him and my sister were so close. They adored each other, and he was never the same after she passed away. He was never the same lovely, cheeky, gorgeous brother, you know. And just suicide just had such a big effect on us as a family and me personally, you know.
Because it appears, when you were talking about your sister and her partner in the house fire, it appears in our heads we're able to put that down as a tragic accident, but with something like suicide, when you know it was deliberate, maybe that's what makes it more difficult, is it?
It is more difficult. I mean, like I said, we couldn't stop what happened to my sister Louise, you know, and like I said to you, Jeremy, I do feel a lot of guilt about the signs for Shane, my brother Shane. I mean, he came to live with me and I was like, come on now, Shane, get yourself together, get a few bob, get yourself a flash and blah, blah, blah. And he left my home and he went to Wexford and he killed himself. I have to live with that guilt for the rest of my life because I feel like I pushed him out. You know, instead of helping him, I just wasn't there mentally myself to help him because I didn't really see the signs. I knew he was angry. I knew he was hurt like we all were as a family, but I just wasn't aware of what he was going through because of what he found. God help him, you know. I mean, we went into the apartment after my sister and partner died, and what I've witnessed, I could never get over for the rest of my life. So I can't even imagine what he witnessed and what he went through in his head. And then to not get the help when we did seek him help, and you know, I don't know. I mean, he tried it once before that, and he was in that hospital. But the time he done it, he he was in his senses. He was, he had made a plan to do it, you know. He knew he just didn't want to be here anymore. I don't know, he just didn't want to be here with us anymore. He couldn't go through it anymore.
All right, stay there for 1 second, Lisa Marie. I have to say, this really is touching on a raw nerve, because the amount of men who are even ringing our switch to say that they are going through this, but they won't talk. They won't admit it. They won't, maybe they don't want their family to know. This is part of the problem. This is the problem. That there is a shame factor in men admitting that life is getting on top of them, that they're suffering from depression, and that they're feeling suicidal. And then what happens? They take their lives. And nobody saw it coming. Jack, you're on 98FM. How are you, Jack?
How's it going?
You yourself, and firstly, well done, Jack, because you're the first man who's prepared to even come on air to talk about this. You were in a very dark place yourself at one stage.
Yeah, back about 10 years ago, I was in a horrible place, like mentally. And reason being, I was only a young lad, 14 years of age, and I was going through a very, very bad time. I was getting bullied in school, getting bullied by my teachers. I had enough. The extent of it got to me so bad where, you know, I just felt as if there was a dark cloud around me, and, you know, that it was never going to... this is what I was going to be subject to the rest of my life. And around that time as well, I just found out that I had Asperger's syndrome. So not really understanding that, and then not understanding why I was being bullied by everyone around me, it was too much to handle. And I just thought to myself, you know what, I'd rather just put an end to it all now, because I just can't deal with that anymore. And I don't know what it was, divine intervention maybe prevented me from doing it. And I went to my mother, and I have to say, if it wasn't for the help and support of my parents and my grandparents, I don't know where I'd be today. But I went to my mother first and foremost, and I just said to her, look, I'm not feeling okay. Like, I feel like I just can't live anymore. And with that, she took immediate action.
It's interesting, actually. Maybe we're different ages. When I was a teenager, I went through something similar, bad bullying in school, hated life, locked myself in my bedroom and all of that. But the difference is I never spoke to anybody. And as somebody just texted in a second ago, they said, when we were young boys are told that big boys don't cry. And this is why men find it so difficult to talk and show emotions. Girls have always been allowed to express their feelings without any censor. And as I said, when I was a young fella, I kept it all to myself. I bottled it all up and didn't do anything about it.
And that's the issue with men, and especially in this day and age. Like, I mean, back in the day, I'm originally from Newbridge in County Kildare, and a couple of years ago there was a massive string of young suicides. I remember that, yeah. Yeah, and it's sad to think that, you know, I know men are... I know men tend not to talk about it as much, but there are women in there as well. It's just that they feel as if they can't speak up, because they just feel as if there's nothing left to live for, which is a sad reality in itself. And it's just another sad fact is that there's just no resources for these people that are suffering from mental illness, and that is why youth suicides are going through the roof in this day and age.
And I agree that perhaps there aren't enough services available, but in order to avail of those services, you have to ask. And it would appear, I mean, I've been in our mental health hospitals. I've had family in a hospital, women, and I noticed that in one particular mental health hospital, there appeared to be a lot more women than men. But that's clearly not the case, because men suffer with depression as much as women do. It's just we don't admit it.
I think you had a good point earlier that there's some stigma attached to men where, you know, like you said, big boys don't cry and they keep everything to themselves. And as you said, you have men ringing the show and telling them they're going through mental illness, but they're just not willing to talk about it. That's because us as men, you know, I'm not sure how many men will agree with me here, so I'm not speaking on behalf of all men, but most men would believe that if they show any signs of weakness, then does that really make them a man? So so they feel that they hold everything in and don't show any emotion or sadness. That, you know, that's what makes him a man, because apparently the stigma attached to it is that men are big and strong and we don't cry or show a sadness or emotion.
Here's a bizarre story I'm just being told by Katie on the switch. We got a call from a listener that we know to be a regular listener, and when this listener is on this programme, this person sounds like the chirpiest individual on the planet. Sounds as happy as Larry. To the point that Katie often says when she answers the phone to this person, "How's the happiest man alive?" or words to that effect. Anyhow, this guy is after ringing and knocking Katie for six by saying, "I can't go on." The point being that here's a man who on the outside is portraying this image of being happy-go-lucky and everything else, but inside is obviously suffering desperately. Now, we've put this man in touch with Pieta House to deal with it now, and I hope that's what he does. But the point being that men tend to give out this image of being happy-go-lucky. And I mean, I'll admit, it's something that I did myself in the past when I was separating from my now ex-wife, who was a very difficult time in my life, but I still just bounced into work as if nothing was happening. And you know, I think that's what us men do.
It is, and you know, I'm going to tell you a little story here now. I'm not going to name names or anything for obvious reasons, but back in my area, I think it's about 3 years ago, there was a particular chap I went to school with, and he always seemed like the happiest lad alive. Like he was always out with his friends. He always had great time for everyone, and everyone loved him. And he was always seen as a happy, quirky character. And one morning, back in August of 2015, he put up a particular picture on Facebook about when his football team won an event, and saying how it was an amazing feeling. And fast forward later on that day, we found out he committed suicide. You know, so while people may seem happy on the face of it, the happiest people on the face of it tend to have the most going on.
Yeah, but it certainly would. Certainly from that phone call we've just taken at our switch a minute ago, that would appear to be the case. Let me just read out this message. The reason men don't talk about it is that the world is female problem / feminism focused. We never talk about how the majority of homelessness is men, how men get less rights regarding custody with children, how much more men die due to dangerous jobs, no rape centres for men, etc., etc. Men's problems, including mental health, is always pushed to one side, says Andrew. Robbie, you're on 98FM. How are you, Robbie?
Not too bad. How are you today? Robbie,
at one stage in your life, you attempted to take your own life.
I did. It was about 8 or 9 years ago now. It was just, I had a really tough job at the time. As I was on last week, I used to work with do a bit of work with the state pathologist. And a lot of things happened at the same time. My sister and my dad died, passed away. And the job it's a tough job on a normal day. But a lot of it just got on top of me. A lot of it did. And I like that first caller there. She was saying that her brother committed suicide after finding his sister and her partner.
Yes.
The same kind of story, you know, it was just with my case, it was more children I went in and had to take out, you know, and that kind of really got me down. And I had a lot going on at home as it was, with my dad dying and my mom and my sister dying, and you know, and then I ended up doing a funeral for my best friend, and I had nowhere to go. And I agree with that guy was saying last time. It's just, it is to do with the job I had. It was, you know, the funeral game. It is mostly men. It is mostly men in the game. There is women in it. There's a good few women now, but it is mostly men. And it's just, I felt that I had to be strong all the time. And you had to hide it all the time. And
it would appear, whether it's intentional or not, that is the pressure that society puts on men. Because men, then if they admit that they're depressed or whatever, it's like an admission of defeat. It's like a sign of weakness.
Well, you know, when you think of the job I do, and you have to kind of be professional at all times anyway. It's the kind of job you have to be professional, and you know, you're listening to sad stories every day, all day, and it gets on top of you. And then at the same time, when I went back to work after my sister died, I didn't kind of grieve her. I kind of went straight back into work, mode. And when my sister died, I kind of went straight into work mode anyway, because that's what I done for a living. And then there was one case I went into a flat fire, and it was a family, and it really, really it just hit me. But I wouldn't talk to anyone. I was afraid to talk to anyone, and at the time I didn't even know where I was to go to talk to anybody. I can go to my GP, but all they done was prescribe medication. That's the only help I ever got for depression at the time was prescription drugs. And I just got worse and worse and worse, and it wasn't until the day then I was brought into the doctor, and the GP kind of just ordered me an ambulance there in the spot and rushed me down to James's, and because I was so suicidal, because I had tried twice already. And then when I went into James's, I kind of it was hitting home then. And even when I was getting asked the questions by the doctor, beside, now my ex-wife, but beside her, I didn't want to answer the questions because I felt I shouldn't be crying in front of anybody. I should be stronger than, it really did get to me, And when I think back now how many people I could have hurt, and as I said last week, if it wasn't for my 5-year-old son, I would be dead now. But there is help out there, and I just want to say, I also now have a page on Facebook called Suicide Awareness and Prevention Ireland, and I am the main admin on that page because I feel that everybody needs to talk about. People need to just don't be afraid. Even if someone just wants to text me on the page, I can put them in the right direction. They don't have to give me any details, but I will try and get them, because if I had continued to do what I did then, I wouldn't have the beautiful children I have today, and I would have missed out on an awful lot. But the help is not, it is hidden. It's a taboo for men.
It would appear so, and it's amazing the things that men have to live with. And I want to read a message to me. This is genuine, by the way, okay? I've suffered with depression since I've been 12. I'm now 31. And it gets harder every day. But what is wrong with me would kill most men. I'm not messing when I tell you this is my problem. It's to do with my manhood. I have a small penis, and it kills me every day. I can't get over it, and there is nothing that can help. Please believe me, I am not messing with you. I am for real. And this is taking over my life. I can't even enjoy time with my 2 lovely kids and my partner. And then a follow-on message says, sorry, I couldn't possibly come on air. I'm in work, and I don't want people in my job laughing at me over this. No man likes to think that his manhood is small, and no woman likes a man with a small one. This has an effect on my everyday life. Wow. It just shows you that is not something that a man is ever going to talk to anybody about. Yet it is something that has gotten in on him since he was a young lad. And that is shocking. Michael, your theory on why suicide is much more rampant among men than it is among women is that we are programmed differently.
Yeah, how are you, Adrian?
How are you, Michael?
Well, there's no one answer fits all here, you know what I mean? But I think what I've witnessed anyway is the approach for a lot of men are getting, it seems to be a kind of a very female-based approach. Like women talk, they like to talk, and they benefit from talking. And like when women talk, they get like chemicals released in their brains and all this, and it's good for their health. Like, but men aren't like that. We're not physically designed that way. Now it is good for men to talk sometimes, but men need a purpose, And if we take trauma and bad things out, and park that aside, a lot of men just need a purpose in life, and I think I don't have an answer here. I'm just saying, I think there's a new approach is needed for men to deal with their issues in a kind of a man way. If you look at other cultures around the world, the boys have rites of passage and all this kind of thing. We don't have that here anymore. We used to have it. We don't have it anymore. The government and the system seem to be in control of most stuff, and family and tribe and all that. That's kind of out the window, and we need that back.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you that we're programmed differently. I do agree with you that more needs to be done to have more male-focused treatment or whatever. And I do agree with you that is part of the problem. But it is good to talk, and I think that is the message that organisations like Pieta House tried to get out there, that it is good to talk. There's no shame about talking. There's no shame about admitting that life is getting on top of you. And I agree, men are meant to have a purpose and everything else. But anyway, let me just read this message. I thought about suicide on numerous occasions while suffering depression. And the scary aspect of those thoughts was it gave me a sense of escape. Like the guy you have on now, the hurt I could have caused my family frightened me back to sense. It's a horrendous, dark place to be, says that text. I'm just trying to get that person on the air now. In fact, he's on the line now. Jay, that's your message I just read out there a second ago. It was the thought of the devastation, and in fact we can see that in the current episodes of Coronation Street, the absolute devastation that a suicide leaves in its wake.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think it was really the fact that I got to think of that force is what brought me away from, the dark place I got myself into.
Because, you see, the problem is that, when somebody is in that dark place, when somebody is feeling suicidal, nothing else matters. But obviously some guardian angel made you think twice. Yeah,
but whatever way it is, but what I found was that the horrible nature of it is that you feel you're just a burden to the people closest to you, and just, it's a hard thing to make sense of. But that is kind of when you're down low, that is how you feel. For whatever reason, you just feel you're just people are better off without you, and it's hard to even explain why. But that is important. That's the dark place you get yourself into. And, it's
okay, obviously, where it came to suicide, you were conscious of the devastation you might leave behind with your family. What sort of help did you get, or did you get any, or did you even reach out for help?
No, I did. I got to such a bad place that I went to my GP with it one day. I just felt it was just becoming too much. And again, as I said, the thoughts of what you could do to your family, even the way I was being, I knew the worries there from my family, they were copping on to them, that, the way it was. But yeah, I've gone to my GP, and thankfully I was wary of it because I wasn't sure what the reaction was going to be. Again, this weird stigma to it, and I know it probably doesn't even make sense, so I always find it hard to mix, but there is a stigma to it. You're I don't know, almost embarrassed by it. You're kind of thinking, is this even a real thing? But I went to my GP anyway, and thankfully he was actually very good with it. He sat and listened to me and put me in touch with the right people. He didn't kind of just throw medication straight at me. He did suggest it just as an aid, but he did get me the right help of the right people to talk to. Pieta House are, one of the number one places, but there was numerous things out there that I could reach out and speak. And once I kind of made that initial move, the sense of relief was actually unbelievable.
How are you now?
A lot better now. Funny enough, when I do think back to it, it kind of does remind me of just how horrendous it was. I don't know if you ever really get rid of it. I'm not sure if you do or don't, but definitely a lot better these days. But just at the time, it was definitely a scary thing, and I think it still always has a hold on you. I just seem to manage it better.
Manage it better, yeah. Oh, well, I wish you well, Jay, and thank you very much indeed for talking to us. If you've been affected by the issues we've been discussing, you can contact Pieta House, and they specifically deal with this subject. Their phone number is 1800 247 247. 1800 247 247. For those of you who are taking part in Friday night, Saturday morning, the early hours of Saturday morning at 4:15, Darkness into Light in 98 Pieta House in the Phoenix Park on Saturday morning. The very best of luck to you, and I hope thousands turn out on Saturday morning. Vinny just sent a message. Guys, please read this. Nobody wants to die. They want to solve their problems. Yeah, okay. And one last one. Adrian, today is my father's anniversary. He is 15 years dead, and he took his own life. I was 13 years old and bottled a lot in from then and went back to school, moved on very quick. As I got older, obviously I became angry and but wouldn't really talk. And when I was 22, I became a father myself and went through some bad times since a breakup, and this and that and the other brought out a lot of my anger from the past. And was in a job I didn't like, and lots of things were building up. Eventually was starting to struggle with everything, so I eventually built up the courage, went to my mum and said that I was not happy and struggling, and obviously didn't look back from then on. And I'm glad you did. And like I said, for all men, please reach out for help. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. Weekdays from 10 a.m. on 98.